Good evening, universe. I'm going to be attempting my first ever wrap-up video. Let me know if this lighting is better. I'm working very hard to be visible. So, wrap-up video for July today, and then also a quick little TBR for August. What I read in July. It's actually going to be pretty quick because I am a slow reader. Alright, so the first book I read in July was The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, and it's basically a feminist retelling of the Frankenstein story. I didn't really know what to expect going into this because I've never read the original Frankenstein, but I expected basically for it to be kind of dark, a little bit horror-y, you know, a little gruesome in parts. Also expected it to be kind of a villain story. It's called The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, so I was thinking that it was going to be about how Elizabeth becomes a more morally unsound person over time through her marriage to Victor and so on. I don't want to say too much about whether I was right or wrong because I don't want to give it away, but I thought it was very interesting. It has really solid ambience, so like you get the feeling of a kind of spooky, moody atmosphere throughout the book. I also expected the main themes to be, you know, of life and death, and those were definitely present in here, but also there was a huge theme of identity and power, and how you create your own identity, what things make up who you are, what experiences, so on and so forth. Also, the themes of power, it's like, how do you get power? What kinds of power are there? How do you relinquish that power? And then how identity and power are kind of intertwined. So I thought those themes were awesome. I really enjoyed that. I really identified with the main character because in the beginning it makes it really clear that her goal is to shape herself into somebody who can be loved, who will be loved by the Frankensteins. And I thought that was really interesting. You get her internal monologue, it's from her perspective, and you can see how she measures out every little thing that she says and does to make sure it's exactly what needs to be said and done for the other person to respond positively to her. And that's a habit that I myself am trying to break still. So I thought it was super relatable, other than, you know, like the sewing together corpses and resurrecting them thing. I would recommend The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein to anybody looking for kind of a moody, spooky book, for somebody that likes feminist retellings. If you liked Kirsten White's other trilogy that was put out recently, the one that begins with And I Darken, it's about Leda and Radu. If you liked that, I would definitely recommend this. Similar vibes. It's kind of historical. Yeah. I'm not going to do star ratings because I have a really hard time distilling my book experiences down into like a number out of a number. That's just not really how my brain works. So I'm just gonna kind of compare it to other things that I've read so that you know whether you would like it or not. Roadqueen, Eternal Road Trip to Love by Mira Ong Chua. For some reason that I don't 100% understand, I was expecting it to be like a post-apocalyptic Mad Max situation with like souped up motorcycles and battles and stuff like that. I was completely wrong. It's actually just like a modern story that takes place like in a slightly ridiculous version of real life. So the main character, Leo, is a senior in high school, and the high school that she goes to is an all-girls school at the top of a mountain with very narrow roads leading up to it. So you have to ride a motorcycle to get there. And Leo loves her motorcycle. She named it Bethany. It is her favorite thing. All the girls want to date Leo. They think she's so cool and so hot. Leo doesn't really want to date any of them. She says she thinks they're shallow and they just see her on her awesome motorcycle and want to be with her, but they don't know what she's really like. So the main plot of the story kicks off when a new girl comes to school and offers to soup up Leo's bike, Leo's Bethany, because Leo has this ongoing bet, like if you can beat Bethany, if you can beat me in a race, then I'll go on a date with you. The new girl, Vega, comes to the school and says, hey, I am likely to be working on all these other girls' bikes, and they're probably going to outstrip you unless you let me work on yours too. Leo agrees. Vega works on the bike, then proceeds to say, hey, you need to pay me for working on your bike. Leo doesn't have any money, so Vega takes Bethany, the motorcycle, instead as payment. That is kind of what kicks off the whole story, is Leo dealing with the lack of Bethany and the presence of Vega, who has come to throw a wrench in everything that Leo thought she knew. It's really cute, fluffy, light romance. It's got some great tropes like fake dating. If you like classic shoujo manga, I would definitely recommend this. Like if you were a fan of Fruits Basket but wanted something much more quick and simple, then this is definitely a recommended read. It's just this one volume. This is the only part of the story, so it's really quick and enjoyable, and the art style is nice and cute. And yeah, I had a great time with it. It was perfect. I was feeling really down with the state of the world right now, and The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein, while very good and engaging, did not exactly help lighten that mood for me. So I picked this up afterwards as kind of like a palate cleanser, and it worked so well for that. If you need something to lift your spirits, definitely recommend. So those were the only books that I actually completed in July. However, I've also been reading Kingdom of Souls by Raina Barron, and I've really been enjoying it. It is a little bit more of a chunker for me. It's like, I think like 450-ish. Yeah, it's about 480 pages, so it's not huge, but it's not small either. I think I have about 80 pages to go. Nope, that's wrong. I have about 100 pages to go, but I've really liked it so far. There are definitely a lot of unexpected plot turns. They're not twists, but as I was reading it, I kept thinking, okay, I see how it's going to go from here. Like, I know what the narrative is going to be from here, basically. And then it would turn and, okay, now the narrative is something else completely. But I think I have a new beat on what it's going to be. Okay, so now it's this. And then it turned again. And so it wasn't really twisting, but it was difficult to predict so far. So if you like having narratives that you can't really get a beat on, that keep changing when you think you know what's going on, I definitely recommend Kingdom of Souls. I would recommend this to people who liked Victoria Aveyard's books or the Grisha trilogy by Leigh Bardugo. If you like kind of the direct first-person present writing style that Victoria Aveyard uses in Roadqueen and the following books, then I think this would be a good match, because Barron has a really similar writing style where it's very direct and clear. If you liked the romance and that back and forth in the Grisha trilogy, then I think you'll also like the romance in here. But if you know the romance in the Grisha trilogy and didn't really like the person that Alina ends up with, I would say that you would probably like the love interest here a lot more. He has a really distinct personality and he does a lot of cool stuff so far. I'm at a point where I'm not sure where that relationship is going to go, but there are a couple that I can root for. So if that's an important element, definitely check this guy out. I also really liked the various cultures that were represented in the fantasy world. The magic system is super cool, and I like following a main character who really has to work hard in order to get anywhere in this series, because she, and this isn't a spoiler, you find out at the very beginning, she is the daughter of two powerful witch doctors, and she doesn't have any magic. She's really frustrated by this, having to maneuver in this world where it's like a high magic system. There's magic in tons of places, and the plot that she gets involved in requires her to have power of her own. So her striving towards that and the workarounds that she does to try and make this happen, I thought were all really cool and really showed the strength of the main character. those were actually all the books that I read in July. I'm in the middle of audio reading a romance book, but since I am less than halfway, I don't feel like it's fair to include it on this wrap-up, so you guys will hear about it in the August wrap-up. Also, in the August wrap-up, if all goes according to plan, will be Sal and Gabby Break the Universe. I think I'm finally ready to sit down and read through that ending. I'm also planning to read Chainbreaker by Tara Sim. I've been really itching to get back to Danny and Colton and the alternative London that Sim set up in the first book. I really want to see how that goes. I might also move on to the third book, depending on how quickly I get through stuff and how I feel when book 2 ends. I'm also planning to reread Twilight and read Midnight Sun. I want to be able to compare, you know, the original Twilight to the new Midnight Sun, see how the story has changed over time. I imagine both of those will be very quick. It's been a long time since I read Twilight, but I remember it going super fast. Those aren't exactly like super dense books. So I imagine that'll go quick. Midnight Sun I think is over 600 pages, but I expect that that'll be a quick read as well. So those are the books you guys can expect to see in the August wrap-up. I will also say that because I am very bad at TBRs, I accidentally bought several more books. So I think I haven't made any progress in my goal towards reducing my TBR. In fact, it's possible that I have made negative progress. I'm not going to count though and find out because 1, I don't want to, and 2, because it's not real if I don't count it. So thanks for joining me for my July wrap-up, and have a good night, universe.